An interesting question that often comes up is that people who suffer from cardiovascular disease or diabetes, we would like to know whether the diabetes came first, and that led to a deficiency in nitric oxide, which then led to cardiovascular disease, or did the deficiency in nitric oxide come first, and this led to the diabetes and cardiovascular disease? Those are the most difficult questions to answer in science, because you have to do things in a logical order, and you have to be able to have models to study. Well, I think that we can say with every degree of certainty now that the initial steps before the development of any disease that we understand is a metabolic deficiency, a metabolic problem. So most likely it is the deficiency in the nitric oxide production that is developed first. And if you look at what happens in animal models, even in humans, when nitric oxide production is decreased, humans and animals will develop a series of metabolic derangements, which commonly is known today as the metabolic syndrome. It's a series of metabolic derangements that lead to type 2 diabetes. So I think that the deficiency in nitric oxide could lead to the diabetes. But you know, the deficiency in nitric oxide is compounded by other factors. You have to ask, what caused the deficiency in the nitric oxide? It's not just that the person was eating an unhealthy diet and suddenly developed metabolic syndrome. It's many factors. Firstly, the person probably was not eating a very healthy diet. That is, they were eating too much fatty foods, too many salts, levels of certain fats like omega-6s might have been much higher than the healthy omega-3 fats that you want to eat. This happened because those people were eating these kinds of foods every day and gaining weight. So they became obese. When you are obese, that compounds the damage. All of the fatty deposits cause oxidative stress in the body. The oxidative stress is due to the generation of what we call bad oxygen. There's good oxygen, there's bad oxygen. If you make bad oxygen when you're obese, for example, this tends to destroy nitric oxide. And that's a very big problem. And that will tend to reduce the amount of nitric oxide that you have in the body. So you have a bunch of different factors building up and causing this decrease in nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is important in regulating many pathways in the body to keep them normal. Some we understand, some we don't. So if you don't have any direction, if you don't have any organization, if the pathways are not operating normally, you're going to get syndromes of various kinds. And the most common one is diabetes. Now, we also know that diabetes itself, coupled with obesity, is the absolute #1 cause of all cardiovascular accidents that occur. So that combination of diabetes and obesity leads to increased unwanted blood clotting. So these people get strokes, these people get heart attacks, they get blood clots in their legs, and after a while they can no longer walk, or they have to have their limbs amputated. It all boils down to a nitric oxide deficiency caused by these various factors. So to finish off on this discussion, I would say that what comes first is an unhealthy lifestyle, the beginning of an unhealthy lifestyle, where you go from being in good shape to being in not so good shape, starting to get obese, starting to eat the wrong foods, nitric oxide levels going down, and then you feed into this over and over, on, and eventually this is going to lead to metabolic syndromes that can lead to diabetes in cardiovascular disease.